Hey everyone, it's Madison. This episode is part 2 with Cola from Black in the Garden. If you had not had a chance yet, go back to last week and listen to part 1. We just want to thank Cola again for being on and for what is now known as 3 Girls, 1 Plant podcast. Enjoy.
We still had a few more questions, but honestly, I really want to talk about your podcast.
Yes.
And before we kind of go over on time. So I would love to hear more about Black in the Garden and how that got started.
Sure. Okay. Well, we were right on that because I had just mentioned trucking, and that was like a part of the origin story of Black in the Garden. The trucking comes in because when I was doing that between 2017 and 2018, I just had so much time to listen that I ended up listening to I want to say 1,500 hours of podcasts.
Wow.
And just podcasts, you know what I'm saying? And just all different types. I listened to a lot of the NPR puts out a lot of good ones. And I was also listening to a lot of, amateurs or whatever. And I would always just kind of take note of what worked for me and what didn't work for me. And so that's one part of it. It was I knew it's not that I was listening at that time as a future podcaster, because I did not know that I was going to have one. I knew that I was interested in having one. And that goes back to my background with college. When I went to college, I was about to flunk out in pursuit of becoming an optometrist, which was I don't have no business doing science, right? Y'all know I say this on my show all the time. I don't do science. I'm not the science girl. I'm not here with the Latin names and all that fancy stuff. That's not me. So I had no business doing science, but I sat down and I did a little soul searching to try to determine what would make more sense for me so that I could actually not flunk out. And I realized that my voice was about the best asset that I had. And I recognized, even at that tender age of 19, that I had a way of speaking with clarity. And I also had a perspective that was I just wasn't used to coming across people that had the same way of thinking as me, as far as, considering things in the way that I consider them. So I knew that about myself, and I was interested. So I said, communications is it. And then I did a college radio show. I went to UNF, girl. Okay. University of North Florida, in Jacksonville.
On my college tour.
Yeah. Boom. So here, it's so interesting how I was so concerned about flunking out, and then hang out. And that's I ended up dropping out, not related to any of that other stuff, but just because it was what was it? It was me I was partying a lot in college. Why lie? I was way more interested in the social scene than showing up to class. And so my grades suffered tremendously. But like I said, I had a good time. And I did the radio show. There wasn't a minimum GPA for that. So I was in there, right? It was parties, WOSP. They probably still do it. And I was a jock on college radio for about 2 years. And I would come on with my homies. It was at least 2 to 5 of us at one time would be in there just talking shit, which is kind of similar to the other podcast that I'm going to tell y'all about in a minute, the Plant Kiki. That's kind of what I was trying to get back to. But so I'm piecing it all together. So it was I did communications in college because I knew that was a strong suit of mine. And that was before podcasts were even a thing, because I was in college between 2002 and 2005. And so I did initially, when I first started trucking, it was in 2005, because that was my transition out of college, was directly into the driver's seat. So that was that. And then all of this was before I really was super into plants. Okay, when I came back to trucking, that was when I was into plants, right? So in 2018, remember I said I started with the plants around 2016. I was oh, wow, loving these podcasts and everything. But I would listen to some planty podcasts. I remember the 2 main ones that I was listening to were Epic Gardening and Bloom and Grow. And Bloom and Grow was definitely an inspiration for me in the sense that her intro is just so cute. She just,
I love
So
her intro.
catchy.
you know, Maria, right?
Mhm.
Y'all listen, you know what time it is. Most of your audience, so cute, right? And so I was just like, so there is a way. I mean, I don't hear Black people in this Planty podcast space, but I do hear something cute and hip here. So I'm into that. So that was a little bit of inspiration to let me know, oh, this doesn't have to be super dry. I'm not saying that Epic Gardening is dry. Epic Gardening is what it is, which is very practical. It's like these are bite-sized pieces of gardening information. So he's lit for that.
Minute long episodes, I think, right?
Which
they're only like
I binged the fuck out of that
under.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're good.
so
They're good.
easy to binge.
Just a little nugget.
So easy to binge.
Info.
So so that was very helpful. And so I listened to those. And then the other thing, it was like things were happening where I was kind of, everything was coming together as far as Black in the Garden goes. And another moment that I remember having, and so I just mentioned Bloom and Grow being an inspiration. How dope, as you should know by now, that I got to be on that show. That is just like incredible, right? So thank you. And I remember sharing with her how I was I would be shopping for whatever, you know, maybe I wasn't shopping, maybe I was window shopping, but I would be out and about looking at gardening figurines and things of that nature. And I remember taking a picture. I have to share this, but I'll send it to y'all, or I'll put it on my stories or something. And a whole aisle full of white gnomes. And I was just like, there's a whole aisle full of white gnomes. What is this? The Republican National Convention, dude?
But it's so white.
It was just like,
Jesus.
like wow, y'all. So that was, the reaction was pretty much like, at the way that I'm describing it now, that was pretty much my reaction. I was just like, this can't be life. This is wild. And so I recognized that was a very clear moment for me when I was just like, so Black people are just not, or just Blackness is not something that is associated with this world. Because if that were so,
you didn't know that?
Oh, there would be Black gnomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's wild, because it's like, you know, we are a people ancestrally, you know, when you take it all the way back to the motherland of the continent of Africa. It's not a country. We are agrarian, you know, by nature. Like we were prized for our knowledge of how to tend to so many different types of like things agriculturally and stuff like that. And that is how, that is a big part of the reason why we were, you know, brought over to America as slaves for that knowledge. And then it just got twisted up, and to the point where by now we are in a position where we have to reconnect because we have been disconnected. One of the benefits, if I can call it that, of this pandemic situation is a lot of Black people have been able to kind of sit down and start getting plants and get back into it, because many Black people can say that they at the very least have like an aunt or a grandmother who has or had a garden. At the very least, there's some connection there. Because even though that was something that was, you know, definitely horrible with in the case of slavery, altogether, just the concept of gardening was also something that was practical and better economically for many. So a lot of people's grandmothers had gardens because they couldn't afford to go and get stuff from the stores, or maybe they couldn't get to the stores because, you know, rural. I hate that word. I hate saying that word.
Yeah.
Rural.
Yeah. I love that you said.
So all of that combined.
I love that you said reconnecting the disconnect. That's so like interesting to hear, because like there is definitely like, you know, there is some sort of disconnect, right? And just reconnecting back to nature, reconnecting back and just, you know, being sustainable, being independent, you know, being someone who can have and just depend on nature that you provide for yourself. Like that is so fulfilling. Like I just love hearing that terminology used, just reconnecting the disconnect.
Well, to reconnect in a positive way that really uplifts the tradition and doesn't warp it the way that our history kind of has.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think we were just talking about the misogynoir episode. It totally is. We were just talking about the misogynoir episode, and I think it might be Bree that was on it that does the plant giveaways. One of them does an event. I think it was her.
That's
right?
Bree.
She does an event, I think in Atlanta, where she just brings a ton of plants and gives them out to people in the community, to Black people in the community that have access to plants or have a love for plants yet. I love it. And I love that she's done it multiple times. And definitely like
I went to the last one.
Yeah?
Oh, nice.
Amazing. The line literally wrapped an entire city block. An entire city block. It was Black people for sure, but everybody was out there, and it rained, and they stayed.
They showed up. That's awesome.
People love plants, as it turns out.
We have a friend here in Denver, and she owns a plant shop here in Denver, and she's actually been on our podcast before, but she is very passionate about pricing and selling and making sure plants are provided for her neighborhood, because she recognizes her neighborhood being gentrified, and she tries her best to not just up the cost of plants based on the neighborhood and that process of the gentrification of that market, but she is so well aware of the economic status of so many people who have lived there for so long, and she's like, they deserve to have access to plants and that energy and that connectiveness still, like, just because I'm here now, I'm not going to charge an arm and a leg because, you know, I can. Like, I'll definitely sell it, but that's not fair to the people who are here right now. You know what I'm talking about.
Totally. I know exactly what you're talking about. And plants should be accessible to everybody. It's important to, trying not to, like, call out the shop, because it's, you know, it's not really about the recognition for her. It's really about making it accessible.
Oh, you talking about what we were talking about on that episode?
No, Bree for sure.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Amazing. But the shop that we're talking about too.
Yeah, I think it's so important.
A local shop.
I love that there's
Shop to y'all.
I love that. I love that some people though, like, recognize, and they're just like, I just want to make them accessible. I just want to give them out to people. I don't show up, give them here you go. Like, have the same joy I have, spark joy, have that feeling. Like, I love people who do that. So that's amazing that she did that. That's so cool. I want to go.
And just stories,
she goes by. Yeah, because I'm sure plenty of your listeners are already following her. She goes by Ear Garden on Instagram, and she's just beloved in the plant community, period. But what she says as her baseline is that she remembered how good plants made her feel, and she knows that Black people deserve to feel that, and she wanted to make that accessible. And that's just it. And so, you know, that's how all that came together. So shout out to Bree. Hey, girl. Hey.
Heck yes. And so these are things that are happening in the community all over the place. And the truth is, a lot of the community is really white, and we don't get to hear about a lot of those events that are happening. A lot of the people in that community that are making moves and are bringing those plants to people that haven't been able to experience that love yet. And Black in the Garden, to bring it back to the podcast, like, has provided a space just for that. Yeah, that's why we're here. But, like, it provided a space literally for that, to bring out these Black voices that are very much also part of the community, and allows people like Madison I, who aren't as involved in that community, to find them and to raise those voices and educate us on you know, things that are happening as well. So I absolutely love the show, and you told us a little bit kind of about how it started. So what has it been like for you now that you do have a lot of traction in the community and you have created this platform and to bring all of these gardeners together?
It's been amazing. I'm at this point right now where there's decisions to make, and there are I'm ready to monetize, like really just turn it into like an actual business. And that is exciting for me, but it also makes me very nervous. Thank you. Yes, I'm prepared to receive it, but I'm in this space right now where it feels very much like a leap, and I am very excited about all the opportunities that are to come, but I am also there is also a little bit of anxiety around that because it is leaning more into the business side of things in a way that makes me anxious, just because I don't have a history in business in that capacity. Does that make sense? So it's like, I just want to be the talent. I said I was a hyper creative, not like a hyper business lady. You know what I mean? I'm cool with the creative aspect of pretty much anything. But when it comes to like the numbers and the business of it all, I do get business. I definitely get it, and I appreciate it. And I'm totally down for learning as much about it as I can. But the more hats that I've found myself taking on as a single host, one woman show of a podcast, especially seeing as it's grown the way that it has, is feeling overwhelmed. Like these past few months, I felt quite overwhelmed. And if you listen to the episode that I just put out a couple days ago, I think that might come through.
Yeah.
Well, what I did was I said, I'm going to pay myself $75 an hour, which is, people have told me, well, that's still kind of low actually. And I was just like, well, I just wanted to come up with a figure. So I said, I'm going to pay myself $75 an hour based on everything that I do. And then I kind of plugged in the number as far as how many hours I could estimate that I've spent on the show. I mean, I do have like 34 episodes by now. And I've also been guests on other shows and stuff like that. But altogether, the figure that I came up with was about $20,000. And I was just like, that is the figure where it's like, once I cross the threshold of having made that much is when I can say that I've broken even. So that's kind of a lot to me. I mean, I know some people listening to this might be ballers and thinking, oh, okay, I got that in my account right now. Hey, get on my Patreon.
Not really.
Slide some of them coins over to me. You know what I'm saying? But it's, y'all know, y'all are podcasters. It takes time. It takes a lot of your energy and creativity to put it all together. And it took us forever just to sit here together.
Yeah, exactly. And the business side isn't something anybody teaches you how to do. No. You know what I mean? You just kind of have to figure out, despite being a creative person. Yeah. So we had to sit down and figure out what price we were going to give our podcast to have a sponsor. And it's how do you come up with a number?
I did too.
Value. That's so hard. Like we when we started, we were like, we need to prove the concept. Like, we are just two girls. We love plants. We just want to shoot the shit and talk plants. Like, that's really all it was. We were like, we're going to, and when we first started, we were in someone's garage recording, and we were totally dependent on somebody else's time. And it, for us, did not work out. And we were like, okay, now we really have to do this on our own and figure everything out. And we put a lot of time into the show too, whether it's Instagram, stories, making the YouTube video, editing, planning, doing the outlines.
There's a lot
that goes into it. But we were like, we need to prove the concept though before we start asking people for money. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm not.
You said prove the concept.
Yeah. So at the end of season 2, we were like, okay, wow, we've proven the concept. We like our numbers. This is our goal. Our goal really was to get 100 listens
an episode.
100 listeners.
100 listeners. Like that was the goal. And we did that. And we were like, wow, okay, what more can we do? So when we came out with season 3, like we had a meeting, we were like, we need to start monetizing. Like we deserve it. And I think, having Paige on the podcast, she told us, she's like, you work so hard and you give yourself to people and they care about what you have to say. And there is no shame in wanting to monetize that, because it's your time that you're giving so much to people. And like when she said that to me, I was like, wow, okay, you're right. Get that bread. Got it.
Yep.
Get it.
And you know what? You and I are doing it together. And I said 75 is low. Cola, you should be at least 150 an hour, girl.
Yeah.
Damn, for reals? That's double.
Damn, for real. Yes. Like you need to
wow.
Yeah, you could. Mm-hmm. Don't y'all think like?
Don't worry, it's happening. Good. I'm glad. That's right. Yeah. No, I just absolutely. So I received that, and I will go forth with that for sure.
Heck yes.
That's right.
We know you're working on other projects. We've hinted at the Plant Kiki a little bit.
Let's
and I know you also sponsored the Black Plant Chick podcast. So tell us about some of these other projects that you're doing behind the scenes, because you are up in the podcast.
Oh my God.
Game.
Love it.
I just be trying to, like I said, it is important for me to connect with other pod cousins, because why not? We're all talking about the same thing. I mean, it's not absolutely of the utmost importance, but there's so many benefits all around. I'm more of a let's all get there together because it'll be easier that way kind of girl than the let me sit over here and hoard all the information and all that stuff and not share it with other people, or let me just be out for myself. That just doesn't feel natural to me, you know what I mean? So there's that aspect of it. But as far as the sponsorship of the Black Plant Chick podcast, I mean, she's just an amazing, very highly motivated kind of gal. And what I love about her, 2 things. One is that she's super organized. She's very passionate about what she does. Okay, so there's 3 things then. And the third one is sis is dope with the business. She came out the gate with offering sponsorships, literally out the gate. And so the deal that she was offering, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm with that. I support you. And so let me show you that by supporting you in that way. So it was as simple as that for me. And seeing, oh wow, I'm so excited to see another Black woman coming into this space. I would just feel kind of how could I not be supporting that? When it comes to Black women supporting each other, I mean, there's so many examples that I could give, but unfortunately we have this whole situation with Breonna Taylor and the way that whole situation played out with there not being the had in us, and that bringing the conversation of protecting Black women and supporting Black women really to the forefront, and seeing how we have such a long way to go to do that. So as Black women, that's we got a lot of the times, you know what I'm saying? Because we understand just genetically, what this whole struggle can be like for us. Like you mentioned the misogynoir episode, misogynoir is a real fucking thing. You think misogyny is bad, so be Black or brown with it. And then it's super duper triple horrible. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was a leading reason why I'm I'm here for you, sis. Boom, I got you. And so also starting another podcast, the Plant Kiki, that once again, it was organic. And like I said, going back to them college days, I was I just miss talking shit with my friends. I love plants and I've made so many amazing friends in this space, Black friends in particular, but all friends really. But I already have this show, and like you said, I love what y'all said about proving the concept. I've proven the concept people know that I can do this, and they respect where I come from with it. So I said, y'all, let's do this. And so it was so amazing to have my friends get on board with me and be like, yes, we're going to do it. And then getting to do the behind the scenes, kind of like really piecing it together. The running joke that we have behind the scenes is that I am Matthew Knowles and they are Destiny's Child. Because I have to
Beyonce always.
I got to do all of that shit that none of them are thinking about. But I'm like, we're in this group text and I'm like, y'all, I need you to do this, do that. I need bios. I need this and that. Whoever can do that. Like, I'm delegating, and we are working together to make this just as much of a smash as Black in the Garden. And and the last thing I'll say about it is, so having Black in the Garden being as amazing as it is and highlighting Black voices, when I came back to do another Planty podcast, I was like, I'm going to let everybody come in on this one. We're going to have guests, and they just going to be whoever the fuck is dope. And so I'm looking forward to having y'all on. So it's for, the guests are like whoever, you know, it's like we already got like 4 Black people hosting.
Yes, that's amazing.
Let's mix it up
for you too. Like, Black in the Garden is a one-woman production. Like, you do it all. Yeah. But I have to say, like, creating this podcast with Madison has been such a fun experience. Like, it's been really cool to work together on and off. You know, so it's a totally different experience doing a podcast with friends. And so I'm really excited for you and to see how y'all come on together, you know, to record. Because you're all going to bring your own like vibrations to the conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It'll be great to hear you all blossom together.
Yeah, I've always wondered.
And it's really, it's for them.
Oh, sorry.
It's for them. I'm not the star of this show. I am really like peeking behind the curtain. Well, I'm peeking from behind the curtains, like, oh, people are listening or whatever. But like, I'm going to be on some episodes. I'm definitely going to be on like the first couple episodes. Okay. But my intention is not to be on all of them. And to answer the question that I think that you're probably going to ask, that goes towards my aspirations in podcasting altogether, is like, once they get themselves secured in the space to where it's kind of automated and there's less work, you know, foundationally, you have to do way more to get something started. Once they get off and running, I'm starting another one. Because I have personal stories that I want to tell in podcast. And I'm always scouting. Here's my secret, you guys. I don't say this a lot, but I'll say it. I'm always scouting for talent. I'm just like, if I feel like somebody has a good story to tell or a good concept, I'm like, hey, I'm willing to support you. And if you want to do it in podcast form, let's talk about it.
Man,
that's where I'm at. That's where I'm going. I ain't stopping.
Yeah, that's amazing. So wait, when does Kiki with Plants come out? The Plant Kiki.
On Sunday. Or wait, no, let me.
10/10. It's the same day
20.
as our event. I remember her saying like, that's a really good number, and I was like, I know it's a good number.
Yeah, such a good number. So it's coming out on 10/10.
Okay, so when this comes out, it's already been out, y'all. So go check it out. Listen, get it. We love new podcasts.
It should be on Spotify. We're doing our best to get all the bells and whistles together and to get on all of the platforms, but I got a little bit more work to do to like make sure that it is on all the podcatchers. But by the second episode, it should be on most of them, but definitely by second episode, it'll be on Apple, but it'll start out on Spotify and whatever else it's on. I don't know yet, y'all. I'm figuring it out as I go along, if I'm honest.
Oh, that sounds great, though. We'll make sure to link the Instagram, too, so anybody following us can, like, go check it out when we release the episode.
Yeah.
First, find y'all. Yeah.
What is, you said 34 episodes, right, of Black in the Garden?
Mm-hmm.
What is, like, an episode that means a lot to you that you've done, that you're, like, one of your favorites? Or, like, maybe
so many.
Like,
okay,
like, wow,
so
that was like, ooh, that was a good one. This is gonna be good. People are gonna listen to this. It's gonna be like,
it was. It was two of them. I mean, all of them are near and dear to my heart for different reasons, obviously. But the setting intentions with plants episode is very special to me because I was introduced to this concept of how we can actually manifesting game to like a different level with plants. We can actually be manifesting with plants. Like, I'll go listen to the episode because I'm not gonna spoil it. But I just remember coming across this amazing dude who calls himself King Wizard on Instagram, and he has this whole this spa in Long Beach, California, and him and his wife, it's called the Salt Lounge, and him and his wife are like Reiki masters, and they are very much like in tune in that way. And I saw him doing this video on plant magic, and it just blew my mind. And so I was like, I would love to have you on the show. And it happened so easily. So I was happy about that. But I think it was like the third episode of Black in the Garden, in season 1, obviously, where I did this episode called Mama's Gotta Have a Life Too. And that episode was about the movie Baby Boy, but about the character, Miss Juanita, who is a Black woman who was gardening in like Compton or like, South Central LA, something like that. Yeah. And it's a John Singleton movie. And if you know anything about John Singleton movie, they're very Black. And I had seen that movie so many times, like way before gardening. And then I saw that and I was just like, when it hit me, when I was thinking about Black in the Garden and what it means being at the intersection of Black culture and horticulture, I said, what better fit? We have to talk about this. And so my friend Nora, who was on the show with me, she lives in California, and she's just like, she's such a homegirl vibe with her. So it was a dope conversation that I got to have with her, where we were kikiing in the episode, like so hard. But when I went back to the very first segment that I recorded of Black in the Garden, that was it. That was in June. I started the show in November. So it was that serious to me that was like one of the first concepts that I was really, really trying to, like, I have so many like cutting room floor kind of samples of that, of me just talking by myself on that. And I was just like, once we get going, we got to do this. And so that's why that episode is one of my faves.
That's awesome. I think, can I share my favorite episode?
Please do.
I definitely do love and appreciate the misogynoir episode. All of you, and just really going in and expressing your thoughts, and just on the topic itself. One of my favorites, but I think I gotta give it up to Christopher being on, Miss Plant Queen herself. Like,
such a gem.
I can't get enough of them. Like, more.
I was nervous doing the episode with her.
Were you?
I was. It's Plant Queen. What you talking about? Yes.
Plant Queen.
I know. I totally feel you, because like I DM'd her once and I was like, hey, we're two girls one plant. If you ever want to come on, like, hit us up. Nothing.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure he got that DM right after like Vogue and everybody else.
Like every interview. I think I hit them up like early this year. I think it was like back in like March this year.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's fine. Like,
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say that she came through as soon as I asked. No.
Oh no,
the queen gets to you when she gets to you. And no, she didn't respond to me right away, because I didn't send her an email. This was when I was still kind of green about how booking goes, and I was just DMing everybody. And so I didn't send her an email. I sent her a DM. And what I know now, having the kind of following that I have, is that box gets ridiculous, right? And so I wasn't tripping, because my thing is, if there's a guest that I would like to have and I've reached out to them and they don't respond back, I'm not the type of girl that's going to sit around and be like twiddling my thumbs waiting. I don't consider it a no, but the concept is, if I don't have an answer or I get a no, I'm not dwelling on that because I'm always searching for the yes. Where's the next yes?
Mm-hmm.
Who's saying yes? Like who's coming through? Because I still, the show must go on. Period.
Mm-hmm.
So no, she took her time, but what I understand is that you got to get through. There's like 3 levels to your inbox. And I know that me coming in at the point that I was at when I first reached out, I know that I was at the bottom level. Like there's certain messages that you're just not going to see until you go dig in there and go and find them. And so, but I was glad that I was found in that dumpster fire. I imagine that her DMs are.
I imagine, but we are too, because it was a great episode.
The DMs gotta be insane. Yeah. But yeah, it was a great time. And I was nervous, but it was because I'm looking at it like, wow, you're so amazing. Everybody loves you, and I'm interviewing you. So I just want everybody to love the interview as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I didn't get a response because I think I would have like shit my pants. But...
Exactly. You wasn't ready. You got ready.
Nervous. I kept telling
you gotta
girls,
get better control of your bowels, girl.
Thank you. What's do you have a favorite episode from Black in the Garden? What's some of your favorites?
Honestly, I think because she followed us right when we started, so I remember listening to like your first couple of episodes, and I absolutely loved hearing about the Seed Slayer episode, and I was one of the millions of people that like jumped onto her website and like overflooded her with like trying to order and stuff, and so it was really cool to hear her come back, and it almost felt like your podcast had come like full circle, to hear her come back onto the show and get to hear more about her and kind of delve a little deeper. Hear more about her business and kind of how that growth looks for her and how much she appreciates the small business aspect. That's something like I can definitely relate to. So I think I love that because I love the full circle of it.
Totally.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So poetic.
Mm-hmm.
So poetic.
And I love that we started out as very much like business-like, and it's like, I would love for you to come on my show and and then after we do the show we're still talking about other things, and then those conversations just become like to the point where it's like, oh, we're friends now, and so we're homies, and I spent my birthday with her, so full circle, a big old circle. I'm excited.
That's so tender. That's a really good episode.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk real quick and kind of finish off with, this year, and 2020 has been hard. And I heard this thing the other day where it's like, we all got to stop saying, it's 2020, it can't get any worse. Because when you're saying that, it's like you're putting it out into the universe. It gets worse. Like you got to stop saying that. And it's like that, and like the memes, like 2020 can't get, like how much worse can it get? Like it will get worse when we keep saying that, and the universe is responding that way. But there's been also a lot of good this year, while through a lot of the hard times. So through this year, how have you been healing yourself? How have you been, healing yourself through this awful time of having, the global issue of like a pandemic like coronavirus? Like, how are you allowing yourself to heal and to stay level-headed, or to stay, not get like burnt out or tired and depressed, or go crawl in a cave and just cry like I do every day? I feel like
I dealt with a lot of that, but I felt like I actually kind of had on a bit of armor before this hit, and that shout out to, there's this organization called Every Black Girl, and so in November, literally like less than a week before I started Black in the Garden podcast, I have the certificate over here, but I can't quite reach it. I went to this personal development workshop that was just incredible. And it was like, it was just transformative for me. And I felt like I got like so many crucial tools that I've been using this year. And 2019 19, even though I didn't realize what all was happening with me, I had no way to anticipate what was going to happen the year after. I just had so many experiences that were just not so amazing. Like I will just say this because I feel like it needs to be said because I just haven't said it. My 14-year-old daughter ran away. She was gone for like 3 days. And that was devastating, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, I think about a month later, my husband, peace out. He just dipped. So that was shitty as fuck. And I dealt with, that was horrible. That was actually literally a year ago, like, as this is about the annualness of all of that. So that was, having dealt with that coming into 2020, I was just like, I've already kind of readjusted based on those events happening in my life to where I'm like, okay. And then I got some tools and I was making new friends that were very much like also had those tools. And so fortifying with these friendships and these connections that I was making in pursuit of just plantrpreneurship, that's the term I use a lot because I was very much like on the path of garden coaching and all that stuff. And you would notice listening to the show from the beginning that I was saying garden coach a lot, but after a while I wasn't saying it so much because it's like that was a part of the pivot for me. It's like I wasn't doing that no more. You know what I mean? I was more so concentrating on putting out a show and stuff like that. But to answer the question, I had already been through so much. And then there was other things that were happening associated with those two events that I just named early in 2020 and around the time when the pandemic hit and stuff like that. And so it was just, I just understood how to like not be concerned about things that weren't working or pursuing things, you know what I'm saying? Like I just mentioned about like, look for the yes. And I was just very much on this path, very well set on this path where I was very much wanting to, well, not wanting to, like I said, having the tools to be able to not have like what I call my joy be like stolen or having like my core where all this energy y'all be talking about it's you can't penetrate that. Like I'm not saying that I'm, infallible, definitely not. But emotionally, I'm pretty good. And I come from a very strong stock emotionally. And I'm saying that, very careful saying that, because I understand that the strong Black woman syndrome, it can be dangerous. But perhaps it has something to do with all of the trials and trauma that I've experienced. I don't know, but I just know I remember from like being a teenager, whenever anything would go like kind of wild or crazy in my life, I've always remember feeling resilient. I always remember, especially like when I was a young adult, like early 20s and stuff like that, when shit would go down and it would be something that would be upsetting or even devastating. The devastation would never hit me all the way to the core. I don't know what it is that I have, this constitution that I have, but I've been pretty like, durable. I don't know. I don't want to refer to myself like I'm a damn Toyota or a Ford truck or some shit, but like for sure. Yeah.
Well, I think
y'all probably didn't expect that.
No, I love that. No, well, I think, my sister is divorced twice. And so after the second one, like I saw what happened with her and her doing the work, and she uses that same terminology as putting tools in her tool belt. She's learning this tool. She has this tool now. And now she is actually going to be a life coach for people and for women and women who are abused and come from, not so great homes. So it's amazing to see, but it sounds like for you were doing that emotional work. You were doing that emotional work leading into
2020.
Into the unpredictability of this year. So it sounds like you were doing that emotional work before a lot of people start doing that. Like, and I think people are, and they do, but I think for you, you were definitely already there. So you had prepared yourself. You had your tools. You had that armor, or like whatever you want to call it, whatever best terminology you want to use. So I think that's amazing that you prepared. And then but also too, like, not to be like, so like the universe and all that, but like really like it's almost definitely. Like it came, you can look at it in like a perspective where it's like it happened for a reason to prepare you for this year, right? Like, you know,
for
going
sure.
through something like that is traumatic, like a divorce, like you have prepared yourself emotionally now to handle the shit that is 2020. Like, and it's not perfect. Like, I'm sure like there's days where you're just like you just break down and cry, but like, I think that's also super healthy as well. And like, you are able to cope with that and like manage it.
Well, yeah, but to like talk on the,
that's what I came to understand. Yeah,
you had also mentioned that you had a group of friends coming into the show too that were also practicing those same tools. Yeah. And since we talk so much about community, like I think it's important to highlight that you were able to practice that in a space with others that were also doing the work, because doing the work in a community that isn't healthy or that doesn't reinforce that is going to be a much harder struggle. So it's really cool that you were able to work together and like learn from each other. Yeah,
because that dude was on a lot of fuck shit, and some of the stuff that he was doing, even involving another woman. Like, I remember talking to some of my friends and being like, yo, I feel like I need to seek some kind of, you know, street justice here. And they were like, girl, we ain't finna do that shit. Like, she ain't the issue. He the issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know? And I was like, so we don't get to go and be ratchet together? And they were like, no. And I'm like, I hate you guys.
I love that they called you out. Like, no, you can't do that. No. They had to tell you that. No, we're not going to be like that.
No, they had to pull you up. They weren't going to.
Yeah, I was trying to be like I'm trying to be a Maury Povich guest, and they're like, no, girl, we on Oprah. Like, fine.
We are Oprah status only.
I appreciate
Oprah status. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. That it took a lot for my sister's second ex-husband for me not to fly out to Idaho and just kick his ass. Oh my God. Both of them.
Yes, kicking the door. There's been so many songs related to, you know, all of this kind of stuff, but I'm just like, it wasn't gonna serve me. I mean, I wasn't really gonna go and do nothing, because like the way my face is set up, I don't really like fighting, because it's like, if I fight you, then you might do something to my face. You ain't finna dismember or, you know, like, make me not look cute no more, girl. I felt like I had something to prove. Not for me.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So that's the vanity side of it.
Yeah. Right. I know, right? Get back to that vanity, girl. I love it. You're Beyonce. You are Beyonce Knowles, and only Beyonce. Everybody else is Kelly and Michelle, but we love
I be trying. Of course. They're necessary and relevant.
Exactly. One thing I want to ask too with this year, what is something that you've learned and that you're happy that came out of this year?
Okay. So many ways that I can answer that, but I want to touch on the concept of the quarantine and when everything shut down and when we were all like, you know, expected to stay in the house. That didn't really bother me. I've seen a lot of memes, like introvert memes about like, everybody had to stay in the house, and everybody in the introverts are like, yay! Yeah. I'm not an introvert like that, but at the same time, I was just like, okay, cool. Yeah, everybody sit the fuck down. Like, y'all are doing too much, because here's what it is. It's like the concept of decolonizing our minds. And we talked about on the episode that y'all said that you loved as much. And it's a very relevant situation, because when we recognize that this whole grind culture that was very much disrupted by us having to stay in the house and either not work or work from home, it forced us to slow down in a way that was, for me, what the revelations that I got out of that I kind of already saw, but they became more clear, was like, you know, white supremacy is very much linked to the concept of like working and just working yourself to the bone, and your value being in the work that you do. Like if you go back to, like, you can look at old records from how because you know they have meticulous books on the slaves when they were considering like production, like this person did pick this many pounds and stuff like that. It was all very well documented, and they were valued based on that kind of stuff. And that concept is still, it's
very much around.
Okay, so maybe you are not a slave, maybe you're not even Black, but a lot of us had been valuing ourselves based on the output and what we could do. So that was one thing, but I feel like I kind of got away from the question though. But like, that was a part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, big takeaway from 2020. Yeah,
what
you learned from this year. Totally.
That is something that became clear to me. And also with that time where everybody had to be still, I was just like, cool. So I can continue with this work that I'm doing because it didn't require me to go nowhere anyway. All my guests are on
and
Zoom.
Everybody's got the time to listen.
So of course, my heart goes out to, because I'm a very empathetic person, my heart goes out to those who have struggled and who have lost, you know, like lives or been affected by said losses. And not just lives, but, you know, like economic things, like people have been evicted and all that other kind of stuff. I understand that life because I've been evicted plenty. All right. But there are those who have had those shit experiences, but it wasn't so much of that for me. I wasn't in a position where I was vulnerable in that way. Like I didn't necessarily love living with my sister who I was living with at that time, but I had a secure place to live. My kids were okay. You know what I mean? And so, but for me, like you said, podcast listenership definitely did go up. And there were other things that were happening where my show did benefit from that. And what that was doing was kind of repositioning me and making me feel that much more empowered and, you know, like more focused on keeping that going. So that was, I feel like I thrived more. And my perspective was already in place where I knew that I was going to be okay, because I had already been set up for that. Like mentally and emotionally, I felt prepared to tackle it.
Yeah. That's great. And it's brought us multiple seasons now of Black in the Garden. So
keep bringing them, girl.
Yeah, you've been able to keep recording, keep having guests.
Get that Virgo energy, girl.
All of it.
So we're getting to about 2 hours.
Yes.
And I don't cut shit out when I edit.
Surprised.
We're posting the whole conversation. So
you are?
Oh, I do. So we'll start
Go off.
kind of wrapping it up.
Yeah.
I last time was really just talking about representation and giving you a big thank you for being on our show and bringing your voice to our listeners and bringing your voice to the podcast community, because like I said, every podcast, every Planty podcast brings something different. And I feel like yours has brought so much, not only in your voice, but in all of the others that have joined you. So I really appreciate it. Yeah. And I know Madison does too.
Yeah, you're just such a beam and such a gem. And we just cannot thank you enough for being here today. And please just keep doing what you're doing. Like you're just gonna, I'm so excited to watch you. Like, I feel like you're like all the way like in the stratosphere now, but like, I'm excited for you to go like all the way to Mars, girl. Like
to hear that.
Like that's where I'm excited to see you go. Like you're gonna get there, and it's gonna be so exciting to watch like that happen.
We're watching, girl. You got some cheerleaders back here, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm so new to all of this. It's like I knew that I was gonna do well, and I have like confidence in myself and stuff like that. But it still feels like humbling and new to hear this kind of like affirmation and like encouragement. So I receive it, and I'm very, very grateful. Thank y'all so much.
Yeah. So where can everybody find you? Plug them socials,
You can
girl.
find me. Woo. Okay.
What you want to plug?
Well, you can find me on, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. I'm on, like all the podcatchers with Black in the Garden. And my primary social media, is Instagram. I do have a Twitter and a Facebook and a YouTube. And so I'm trying to bring more energy in that direction. But it's kind of difficult, and I'm to the point where I'm like, I think I could use some help, so trying to sort that out. But as far as finding me, social media wise, Instagram is the one that gets the most updating and things like that. And of course, you can always tune into any episode of Black in the Garden. Season 3 should be, it'll be upon us by the end of this month. We'll just say by the end of this month, because I don't want to wait until November. I just did just a random episode, but it was a check-in, because it's like it had been a smooth, solid 2 months of a break. And as a podcaster, I just didn't feel comfortable like letting that much space go in between. Because I know for me as a podcast consumer, when I see too much time done gone by, I'm just like, is you okay over there? Like, bitch, are you coming back? And so
I know. I'm
so
glad
I thought that was
necessary.
that check-in. Yeah.
I needed a cola
the check-in and let people know what time it is. And I might have sounded a little disoriented, but it's because I was. And I'm going to be doing 2 best of episodes between now and the season 3 premiere. So I'm excited. And then the Plant Kiki is happening on 10/10. So all the things are happening. And just, find that on Instagram for now until you can find it other places.
Yes, and then you have merch, it sounds like, coming soon. So everybody needs to keep
It's coming. It's coming with the website.
We're not going to rush it, but it's coming. So everybody needs to look out for some dope-ass merch coming from your girl, Cola.
It's going to be such a good time, because I really lean into my hyper creativity to kind of determine what kind of merch that I'm going to put out. So I don't want to just do like, little simple things. I mean, sure, there'll be t-shirts and of course stickers, but there will be other really exciting things. And you just going to have to see when you see it. But, Instagram is the place to get that. So stay tuned. I appreciate y'all. I truly, truly do.
Oh, we appreciate you. You're so amazing.
And the website is coming, blackinthegarden.org.
.org. Ooh, you got a .org? Damn, girl.
Because it's official. It's an organization. It's a movement.
That is official.
Yes, it is. That's awesome.
Somebody took .com though, if I'm honest.
Good sources for your paper, y'all. You can use that .org.
You know what I'm saying?
Ooh,
yes, that's official.
It is official. And then for us, you can find us at 2 Girls 1 Plant Podcast. You can follow us on our personals at Amusing Plants and Just Pups and Plants. Again, where Cola's hanging out on the Spotifys and Apple Podcasts, whatever you're listening on. I don't know. And we're also on YouTube. Right. We are Zoom recording this call right now with Cola. We are going to be posting it on the good old YouTube universe. And don't forget, we have our Kickstarter still going. That ends on Halloween. So if you want to donate, you can definitely donate to our Kickstarter. And then we have our hashtag Plants Create Change still going. If you want to get involved and auction off a plant to benefit any kind of cause or organization that you are fully passionate about, use the hashtag Plants Create Change. Tag us, we'll share it. We'll bid on a plant. Hell yeah. So definitely do that. We are also giving away cuttings of plants to people who live in Colorado who are registering to vote. I'm sure when this comes out, a lot of states are ending their registration. So leading into that, vote, mail-in vote, take a picture of yourself standing in line. We'll give you a cutting if you're in Colorado, though. So if you're in Colorado.
And Cola, you had mentioned a really great website for election resources. Do you remember what that website was from your episode?
Yes, it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's ballotready.org, BALLOT, ready.org.
Okay. Ballotready.org.
Cool.
So you can vote down your whole ballot because there are a bunch of issues on there and you got to start local to make change.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you so much, Cola.
Thank you so much.
It's been an absolute
You're amazing.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. A good time.
Good time.
Love, light, and soil. Y'all know how I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Love, light, and soil. We'll talk to y'all next week. All right, bye. Oh, that was great. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, that was so
We
amazing.
did that.
That was so
I had no
magic.
idea that y'all were going to go that long.
I had no idea.
I
Oh,
like an hour.
I just kept saying, okay, well, maybe we're not going to do them all. All the questions, that is.